He was called the wickedest man in the world. A poet, mystic, magician, or a fraud? Some saw him as a visionary unlocking the universe's hidden forces. Others viewed him as a dangerous charlatan, indulging in excess. He defied religion, embraced the occult, and left a mysterious legacy. This is the story of Aleister Crowley, one of history's most controversial figures. Aleister Crowley was born Edward Alexander Crowley on October 12, 1875, into a wealthy, deeply religious family. His father, a successful brewer, was a devout member of the Plymouth Brethren, a strict Christian group. From an early age, Crowley was taught to fear God and follow the rules without question. But Crowley resisted. While others praised their faith's morality, he saw only hypocrisy, a cage he desperately wanted to escape. He questioned the sermons, felt trapped by the fear of eternal damnation, and longed for freedom. When his father passed away in 1887, Crowley, just 11 years old, began to distance himself from Christianity. To him, religion was a prison, and he was determined to break free. By the time he attended Trinity College, Cambridge, Crowley had shed his old identity. He adopted the name Aleister and dove into poetry, philosophy, and the occult, seeking new meaning. Mountaineering became his way of pushing both his physical and mental limits. This was the beginning of his transformation, from a disillusioned youth to a seeker of hidden knowledge. At Cambridge, Crowley's interest in the mystical deepened. After leaving university, he plunged headfirst into the world of the occult. In 1898, he joined the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, a secret group dedicated to magic and hidden knowledge. This group attracted intellectuals and poets, including the famous W.B. Yeats. Crowley quickly became a leader in the group, learning rituals and studying ancient texts. He once wrote, "Science is always discovering odd scraps of magical wisdom and making a tremendous fuss about its cleverness." However, his bold ideas and attitude caused conflict. Yeats, who was a fellow member, became wary of Crowley's unorthodox practices, which led to a fallout. Crowley's ideas were revolutionary, and his constant push for new, controversial practices clashed with the more traditional beliefs of the Golden Dawn. Eventually, the group fell apart, and Crowley left, ready to carve his own path. He traveled the world, diving into Hindu philosophy and ancient spiritual practices in India. In Tibet, he studied meditation and Buddhist teachings, further deepening his spiritual knowledge. His most profound experience came in Egypt. During his time in Cairo, Crowley claimed to receive a message from a supernatural entity named Aiwass. He later wrote, "I heard a voice speaking to me. It was not my own." This moment would become the foundation of his new spiritual philosophy, Thelema. Crowley's travels deeply influenced his outlook on spirituality. His experiences in the East were integral in shaping his worldview and pushed him toward the idea that true freedom lay in the pursuit of one's will, unshackled from societal constraints. Do you think his vision was a divine revelation or a product of his imagination? Let us know what you think in the comments below. In 1904, after receiving the message from Aiwass, Crowley locked himself in a room for 3 days to transcribe what he believed was a divine revelation. The result was the Book of the Law, a cryptic text that Crowley insisted was not his creation, but a direct transmission from higher forces. The central idea of Thelema was simple but radical. "Do what thou wilt" shall be the whole of the law. This philosophy emphasized personal will over traditional morality. It argued that your true purpose, or will, should guide you, not external authorities or religious rules. Unlike religious teachings that stressed submission to God, Thelema placed the individual's will above all else. But what does "do what thou wilt" really mean? It's like an artist creating their masterpiece or a scientist pursuing a groundbreaking discovery, following your true purpose rather than obeying rules set by others. Crowley believed that individuals should embrace their authentic selves, no matter societal expectations. Thelema also embraced love is the law, love under will, meaning that love and will must be linked in spiritual practice. Crowley encouraged his followers to pursue their own paths without fear of divine punishment. He believed this was the key to a new spiritual age, one that rejected old dogma and embraced individual will as the guiding force. Was this divine revelation or just Crowley's imagination? Some saw him as a prophet, while others dismissed him as a self-styled messiah. Regardless of its origins, Thelema grew into a movement, attracting followers who saw Crowley as a visionary. However, as his influence grew, so did his notoriety. As Crowley's popularity grew, so did his appetite for controversy. He practiced sex magic, performed elaborate rituals, and used mind-altering substances in his teachings. To his followers, these were sacred acts, unlocking hidden powers. To outsiders, they were shocking and immoral. The British press portrayed him as a devil worshipper and corrupter of youth. Crowley's defiance of moral conventions and indulgence in taboo practices made him an easy target. Some defended his excesses as part of his spiritual freedom, while others saw them as a contradiction of his own teachings. Was his hedonism a failure to live by his own law, or was it an essential part of his spiritual journey? In 1920, Crowley founded the Abbey of Thelema in Cefalù, Sicily. His followers lived by the principles of Thelema, free from societal restrictions. But the abbey became infamous for wild rituals, animal sacrifices, and a lifestyle that seemed to push every moral boundary. After a follower died under mysterious circumstances, Italian authorities expelled Crowley from the country. His life was falling apart, his finances were gone, his followers had left, and his addiction to drugs had taken its toll. Yet, his legend only grew. Crowley's complex relationships with his followers and wives also added layers to his character. His marriage to Rose, for example, was pivotal in receiving the mystical message from Aiwass that led to Thelema. As World War II unfolded, rumors spread about Crowley's involvement with British intelligence. While the truth remains unclear, his ties to espionage and cryptic activities were often speculated. He even reportedly used his occult knowledge to attempt manipulating enemy forces, though evidence of this remains murky. By the end of the war, Crowley's life had fallen into poverty and isolation. Once a man of influence, he now lived in cheap lodgings, relying on a few loyal followers. Despite this, he continued his spiritual practices, though his influence had faded. Reflecting on his life, he once stated, "The joy of life consists in the exercise of one's energies, continual growth, constant change, the enjoyment of every new experience." He struggled with his heroin addiction and couldn't maintain the grandeur of his earlier years. On December 1st, 1947, Aleister Crowley died. His final words were reportedly, "I am perplexed, a fitting end for a man who spent his life searching for meaning." His death sparked mixed reactions. Some called him a madman, while others saw him as a misunderstood genius. But his legacy would continue. Crowley may have died in obscurity, but his influence only grew after his death. His teachings helped shape modern occult movements like Wicca, chaos magic, and even influenced some elements of Satanism. His philosophy of personal will over external constraints continues to challenge modern spirituality. Crowley's impact also extended beyond the occult. In the 1960s and 70s, rock musicians like the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, and David Bowie referenced his work. Crowley's presence also appears in movies, books, and conspiracy theories. His philosophy of Thelema lives on through followers who interpret his teachings in various ways. Crowley set out to break boundaries, and in many ways, he succeeded. His teachings continue to challenge spiritual and societal norms. Whether viewed as a prophet, a trickster, or a madman, his legacy remains undeniable, stretching far beyond his time. Aleister Crowley remains an enigma, his life a mix of brilliance and controversy. Was he a mystic who glimpsed beyond reality, or simply a fraud consumed by ego and excess? The truth, much like Crowley himself, lies somewhere between genius and madness. His name echoes through history, feared by some, revered by others. He challenged the limits of human experience, defied religion, and left a lasting legacy. Was Crowley a visionary ahead of his time, or just a man lost in his own excess? Like his life, the answer remains a mystery. What do you think? Was Crowley a misunderstood genius, or just another figure consumed by his own desires? Let us know in the comments. And if you're fascinated by history's most mysterious figures, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.